welcome back to The Back Pocket, the podcast that accidentally leaked all of its coaches' box material to the public AFL server this week. You're joined by, as usual, Jack and Alistair. And I don't know if you've been looped in on that one. That was some pretty recent news.
I'm honestly shocked to be sitting here.
St Kilda, Ross Lyon posted with his coaches' notes that they have to send to the AFL every week, the entire inner coaches' box recording of everything that was said during the practice match with Essendon, and it was uploaded for a full few hours. He had to apologise to the playing group and to the members. Amazing. Great start, Ross Lyon.
So you think every coach in the AFL
downloaded that and saved it for 100%. Sure. Yeah. They'll be like, oh, yeah, no, it's all right. It's been deleted. They've all got that info now.
They all have
that
it.
is on file, for sure.
And if they didn't, they would be
someone else.
Horses ringing up. Chris Scott like, hey, man, do you have the St Kilda
everyone's
information?
Calling Gemma, hey, man, we go way back. We used to work together.
Well, every coach played together these days. So,
yeah.
Wild. That's insane.
Incredible. I saw it and I was like, well, that's got to be the opening this week. That's an amazing stuff up. I can't believe that.
Did it just have in big, bold letters, put Zane Cordy up forward?
I hope so. Because I read it and I was like, why would that be happening? Because the first thing I saw was, it was on our Back Pocket Twitter, and it was just St Kilda have issued a statement about the pre-season match. And my brain immediately, with my pessimism towards how the AFL is run, just went, something racist happened. But no, it ended up being something really funny. So I was glad I clicked the link instead of sad. That was
It's always nice when you get a laugh instead of this again.
Yeah, so that was a pleasant way to finish my day.
Yeah, couldn't happen to a nicer guy, really.
So, obviously, as we discussed, you were mostly working during the preseason games this week. So.
Yeah, I got to watch about 10 minutes total of game. I watched about 8 minutes of the Carlton game, and I watched about 2 minutes of the Geelong game. So, all I can tell you is that Braden Campbell fast, Goulden get a lot of ball, and I only saw Ollie Henry do two things, and they were both complete fuck-ups. So that's my preseason for you.
I'll flash through my notes of what I noticed this week, and you can input if you think of anything on the way.
Sure.
The first game was Collingwood Hawthorn. My tweet I even sent out during the game was that I feel like captaincy clearly suits Darcy Moore. He was brilliant. I think he and Sicily were the two best players on the ground. He had 10 intercepts, 7 of those were marks, 5 spoils, 7 score involvements, and 19 disposals at 95%, while at the other end, Sicily had 22 disposals with 4 spoils and 6 score involvements, and won 5 out of 7 contested one-on-ones he had.
That's two pretty good defensive captains right there.
Yeah, straight off the bat. And James Blank, the kid...
I don't know who that is.
He was Hawthorn's mid-season draftee last year, only played a couple of games. He had 9 spoils and 6 intercept marks and won all 3 of his one-on-ones, which, considering the rating we gave Hawthorn and the one that's going to be going out in the post next week, hopefully that will go a bit of a way to fix some of their defensive woes, because I definitely think
they've got work to do there. And, I mean, we said that last week.
And we talked about Frampton in a game where the opposition kicks it inside 50, 54 times. I thought he was pretty quiet for someone they spent a little bit of money to get into the club. So... not ideal.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Frampton overall. I'll give him time, but he didn't show me anything. I watched him in the preseason match with Carlton 2 weeks ago.
You can never put too much weight on a preseason game anyway. Even one of our favourites, Nathan Murphy, didn't really have a great game despite, once again, all those inside 50s. And I guess it's probably because Hawthorn were kicking goals or Moore was marking it. Probably doing a lot of it.
Moore's a wall. Or he has his bad moments, but... The
next game in a clash of two of our most touted backlines was Port and Freo. Brennan Cox had 10 spoils because he is a jet. He had 7 intercepts and 23 disposals at 96%, which is just fantastic. The usual culprits, Pearce, Jonas, Aaliyah, 6 spoils each. Pearce won 7 out of 9 one-on-ones. Jonas and Aaliyah won all of theirs. And Aaliyah had 9 intercept possessions of his total 11 touches, which is awesome. Brisbane versus Geelong to another defensive captain, even though Alex Pearce was one. Harris Andrews, brilliant.
I hope you don't mean Patrick Dangerfield.
Radicalier. I want it to happen. I want him to be a key defender. He had 8 intercepts, 3 of those were marks, 10 disposals at 90%. I don't think he's ever gone at 90% in his life.
Well, yeah, he definitely wouldn't with his shots at goal.
Yeah, no, God, no. Which is, the best thing is, if he's in the defensive 50, he can't kick a goal.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think he'll get a game or two at the start of the season, but I don't think he'll be shown unless depth is needed, which it is at the start of the year because of their forward injuries or missing players.
Yeah.
But he won't play a lot of games, I don't think, this year.
The one I really wanted to bring up was that last week we called McGovern and Hearn old and said that's the biggest problem with West Coast backline, and I feel like they took personal offence to that in the game on the weekend. They had 25 touches each.
Hold on. Old
I agree with you
fine.
there.
Joel Selwood just played in, his 800th final. Old is not bad. It's when you're old and,
Well, that's
not
what I
playing
mean.
well.
They had 25 each. 12 intercepts for McGovern, 6 for Hearn. They were really good. But I guess when Adelaide monstered them that way on the grossest, hottest afternoon in Fremantle, which no one should ever be playing football in.
They just shouldn't have preseason games in WA.
That was the problem with that game and the Geelong game. You could see how sweaty everyone was and that no one wanted to run because you don't play football in 32-degree heat. That's just not... Anyway, kind of beside the point. You did bring up captains, though. And funnily enough, I looked into it because I forgot that Pearce had been made Freo captain after 5 stepped down. Which I was surprised by because I really thought it was going to be Brayshaw.
He's set to be their
Pearce
next captain, so...
Pearce is a jet. But now half of all teams have a defender as captain, or at least co-captain. And of the other 9, 5 of them have their vice-captain as a defender. So it's only 4 sides with no defender as captain or vice-captain. This is with an asterisk on Jordan Dawson because while he is a defender, he's a midfielder. But that's really cool.
Who are the 4?
The 4, that's a great question. Actually, Essendon is one I know.
Okay.
Obviously, Carlton has Wiedering. GWS don't have one because they've got a captain and all their vice-captains are midfielders.
It's not often. I don't think a forward should be a captain. Very rarely.
Melbourne don't have one. And the Bulldogs.
Okay.
They're the 4.
Yeah, all right. It's shocking. Caleb Daniel can't get a look in? What?
He who must not be named, or he who cannot be vaccinated, also played really well, I thought, in his first game for the Bulldogs.
Liam Jones
had, I think, 19 touches and a bunch of intercepts and spoils, 11 spoils or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a bit of rust to start the season, but he's a quality player.
We know he's a good player. It's just that it's weird that those rules change. It's weird to me that even, America is still not letting people in unless they're vaccinated.
It's weird to me that we are allowing an unvaccinated player at all.
Yeah, and then the highlight was I always wanted to look who had the most spoils, and lo and behold, it was Wiedering with 14.
Yeah?
In a preseason game.
To be fair,
He and Young kind of swapped morals. Young did all the intercepts and had 19 touches or something, and Wiedering just knocked everything out of the park with his fist.
Yeah, it's different when but Wiedering specifically plays differently on Buddy, and I think it's worked over the last couple of years. It's really more about nullifying as opposed to intercepting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it works. Obviously, it didn't work on the weekend, but it's a preseason game. So.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We see every year, every year teams win preseason games against really good sides.
Collingwood got smashed in their preseason game last year, and they were top 4.
Yeah, Geelong lost to Gold Coast. Yeah, Hawthorn I think beat someone last year in their preseason game and then flummeted.
All that matters is to get run into the legs of players and
try to
pray for no injuries.
Positions or just get a kind of more like a match sim than you can do at your own training.
And I want to specify, I would be saying that even if my team won by 100 points.
Yeah, obviously. And more like a match sim than you can get at your own training where everyone knows how each other plays.
Yes.
You want to play against people who don't know how you play so that you can see how that works and lines up on a real game. So
yeah, 100%.
Never much to go off. And I saw so many posts about journalists, quotation marks, I've just flicked the mic saying that, quotation mark journalists talking about, their assessment of the preseason games. It's there shouldn't be one.
You can really just talk about individual performances and what you see in changes from last year to this year.
You can't make any opinion of how a team's going to perform based on a preseason game.
Even just based on what I saw from Sydney in that preseason match, their movement looks so much cleaner and faster than it was last year, which is obviously a counterpoint to how they were dismantled in the grand final. That's something you can take from the preseason. You don't watch that game and go, wow, they demolished the team that finished 9th. They must be a flag favourite. That's just not how it works.
Well, that's true. One thing I'll take from the preseason, if Geelong are missing Henry, Hawkins and Cameron all at the same time, they will struggle to kick goals. That's probably a fair assumption to make.
It's going to be really Stengel or bust. Yeah. Maybe close.
Segler looked very awkward trying to play forward. But I appreciated they didn't put Radaglia back down there. He's a defender now.
Maybe that's the break glass.
Yeah, maybe. He becomes the Jack Henry type. I hope he doesn't, though. I trust Jack Henry kicking on goal. So we've got a week and a bit to go. I think VFL starts this week.
Maybe.
Because I think Taron Thomas is playing for North in the VFL this week.
Should he be?
No? Oh, I thought the same thing. Mitch McGovern and someone else playing for Carlton.
Marchbank? No, Marchbank did a calf, I think.
Yeah, so I saw there's a few AFL players having a last-minute tune-up in what will actually be a competitive scenario because it's for points this week, which is good to see. But if they can't get up, I thought that Chinchotta, is that what his name is? Chinchotta? Thought he looked great.
Sounds like a Italian cake, right?
It does. Yeah, I
definitely have a Chinchotta. No, he is tough. I watched a lot of Carlton VFL last year, mostly because I wanted to wish Paddy Dow well. I wanted him to play seniors. But Chinchotta and Radovanovic, I can't remember how to say it, they were really good, small lockdown defenders for the VFL side that made it into the second week of finals. I think Radovanovic went to country footy,
right?
Which is a shame because I feel like he could have got a spot if he stayed on. But yeah, I think Chinchotta looks quite good.
Yeah,
he's tough, and that's what you want.
My write-up, I guess, is on the website, but for Carlton went live today with Adelaide and Brisbane, and he was in there. I mentioned that like last year was a year of Carlton just finding people as key defenders, and it looks like somehow there's just another one who's just come in and he plays that same role, really reliable. Like Liam Jones used to play it, and then last year Young played it, but also Durden played it, and now it looks like he's going to be able to come in and play that same role, which is just incredible.
And it's nice in a season where Williams has obviously just done his ACL that Cowan looks like he's just ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about him straight away. I was like, man, what a pickup. Because I was looking at, obviously, defenders especially, but the draft beforehand. And I was like, he and Buzz Slinger were the two that I was like, I can't wait to see where they go.
Buzz Slinger's a great name. I can't wait to hear him get called by someone.
I love a good name. And West Coast got the other one, but he's going to be a midfielder in Ruben Gimby. Commentators are going to have a lot of fun with Ruben Gimby over the next few years. But he looks just ready-made. But so does Cowan. Like you look at those kids that come through at 19 and look like men.
They have such defined arm muscles.
If they
insane.
played against me when I was that same age, when I was playing 17s, they would have killed me. Like I would have like we had a few blokes in our team who were man-sized, but like they were slow. Like they were just like people who grew too fast and became large. Whereas like even the AFL players who came from that team were not huge. Like they were all teenage-sized people who had to get bigger when they got drafted to the AFL. Whereas some of these kids come through and they're just men at 18. And like I know legally that's true, but wild. And then other players, you look at them, you're like, that's a child on the football field.
Yeah. I always think to Josh Bootsma, it's like, how are you letting this kid play AFL footy?
and then they didn't.
No, for good reason. But yeah, no, it's good to see, especially fantasy-wise, a lot of young players who look like they're ready to just come in and destroy it.
It's almost made it hard. I wrote with no idea where I was going on my notes for this episode, fantasy ? But it's hard to make a team with so many round one debutants. Looks like might happen. Like there's so many value picks and you can't pick all of them. No. But yeah, my question was going to be if you could put one fantasy pick this year that you reckon is value, not a debutant, but like who would your like lock be?
My lock?
Yeah. Not making this a regular thing on the show. It's just it's pre-season.
It's also it's not a defender, so like it's not really
I was going to
relevant.
say as a defender.
Oh, it has to be a defender?
Yeah.
Oh, well, my real pick is Rosie.
Yeah, that's fair.
But defender? Value. And it can't be a debutant. I ain't got none.
Yeah. I think mine's Yo. I think
Yo's a choice if it plays off.
He actually looked like he was moving okay. The lock, if you're not looking at value, is just Doherty.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
You have to pick him.
But value, you said, so I was like, oof.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to footy starting.
And Doherty's going to play a mix of mid anyway, so absolutely. It doesn't even really count as defender. He's just listed there.
He'll get the us looking at it and going, well, we can't give him votes because he's not playing defence.
100%.
Look over again. I'm glad the cricket finishes this week. It's like perfect timing. Like I've not seen it line up better than that. ever. Last test is this week, and the footy starts the week after.
Oh, there you go.
Super excited.
Thank God.
The preseason games were that boring that I came home because there was 3 games on. It was the Hawthorn, Collingwood, Geelong, Brisbane, and I think Port Freo all at the same time. And I ended up watching the cricket.
Yeah.
Because those games were so hard to watch.
That says everything you need to know.
It was not. My boss was like, "Oh, was it worth watching them?" I was like, "No, Scott, it wasn't. Just look up some articles and stats and be like, oh, okay, these players looking all right."
I mean, that's what we do every week, right?
Yeah, sure. I definitely don't have multiple screens going because I'm a nerd.
Let's go with that one.
I know the women's footy starts soon. Women's waffle, I think, is this week.
It's going to be interesting having that running at the same time. It feels like there's already not enough attention on women's footy.
I think women's waffle
I feel like it's going to be even harder.
Several weeks before last year. Like, it was definitely already underway. Women's sample started at the same time, so they're 5 rounds in, I think. But for some reason, unlike the AFL or waffle, which it's a public holiday, let's play games over a longer weekend, the SANFL women have, thanks to someone who replied to us on Twitter today saying that I was wrong, the SANFL women just have the weekend off. There's just no footy. It's a long weekend in South Australia, so there's no women's waffle on.
You know what? I rate that. Why should they have to work on a public
they get a long
holiday?
weekend. I wonder if maybe they get paid like award wage instead of an athlete's wage. I don't want to pay them overtime.
Maybe.
But yeah, I feel like that's a mainstay. Like WA Day over here, there's always the East and South Derby on. I think it's the same. But the VFL now.
Because otherwise people will just stay inside and do nothing.
Yeah, that's true. Which is a good pastime, to be honest.
It's my favourite pastime.
Pasta time. You wrote down a note I saw, which was
I did write down a note. Yeah, during the season I write notes.
Yeah. Obviously, I know that.
These
otherwise, we'd be
episodes are
giving
fluff.
votes off the top of the head, which would be dangerous.
I could do it.
It's a surefire way for Sam Collins to just win. We'd be like, he was good, wasn't he?
My segment is just called Who Would Win?
Right. Okay.
And the first question is, who would win? 22 Gary Ablett Juniors or 22 Gary Ablett Seniors?
22 makes it... I think it's senior if it's 22.
I think it's senior.
I think that over his career, Gary Ablett Jr. became a better footballer than senior. His list of accomplishments, even without the premierships.
Yeah.
He was a more complete footballer. But, senior could play full forward and full back and in the ruck.
If Gary Ablett Jr. is not getting the ball out of the middle, because he's not winning the ruck contest, so he has to dominate there.
Yeah.
And he has to literally run it.
And I think that
there's no other way.
Him in a one-on-one.
Yeah.
Be a good game.
Yeah. All right. Second one, 22 Adam Goods or 22 pre-knee injury Koutafidis.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, that one is tough.
That's the every position player, isn't it?
They can ruck, they can defend, they can play forward, they can play mid.
I just think back...
I had to specify pre-injury Kouta.
I'm biased towards Goods, I think, in general. But then I just had the thought of that game against Carlton where Koutafidis had 20 disposals and 5 goals against Essendon, in the last quarter.
Yep. Yep. That was the first thing I thought of. And then there's also a game where he kicked similar to we talk about Jack Watts all the time, kick the goal to get in front and then save it in defence.
Yeah.
Adam Goods is a beast of a player, one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Across his entire career.
I think that 3-year patch of Kouta was unstoppable.
Yeah.
That's
why this one's tough.
That changed what footballers were, and we're only slowly going back to picking footballers again. Because of how good he was for that period in time, everyone was like, we need to pick a 195 centimetre tall midfielder who weighs 100 kilos.
Yes.
And they don't really come around that often.
I would pay to watch this match. I'm not going to pay to watch the Ablets play each other.
It would be funny, but
it would be funny for 10 minutes.
I'd pay to watch the Koutas and Goods, because that would just be
100%
a genuinely high-octane game of football.
All right. I'm picking Goods. That's my ultimate choice, but I think it would be a great watch. And my third one, because I ran out of time and I didn't want to do any more, is just 22 Fraser Gehrigs versus 22 Barry Hall.
Oh. Well, see, here's the thing. I reckon the G Train, because he was a fullback at West Coast.
I'm giving it to Fraser Gehrig. Yeah. When I wrote it down, I'm like, this is an easy one, but boy, would it be a watch.
You know what I learned the other day? So only because I was making fun of people who were like, no one ever wins with co-captains, despite Sydney's evident
twice.
Two premierships with co-captains and 4 runners-up in that same period of time. Do you know Barry Hall was the co-captain they made captain in that grand final when he shouldn't have even been playing?
No, I did not know that.
One, I didn't even know he was co-captain.
Neither.
I thought it was just Kirk and Bolton. But he was the captain in that grand final. That is wild to me. I
could
can't
not
imagine
think
him having any leadership qualities whatsoever.
I couldn't think of anyone I would want from that era to captain me less.
Yeah, absolutely. I would rather have Brendan Favola as my captain because at least it would be fun.
Now, I think Brendan Favola clears both of those two. If we swap Fraser or Howell
Prime,
out.
in his prime Fev,
What about
sight to behold.
What about current Barry Hall, 22 of them, versus current Favola?
Well, Barry Hall, because at least he's been in boxing condition within the last 5 years.
I still feel like Fev might pull that one through.
Chances of having a career, 22 Favolas. He's on a weird podcast I saw recently. Who was on it? It was... I'll have to look it up again, but Fev's on a podcast with two people that I was amazed that he was on it with, and I was like, I feel like this would be extremely entertaining. Let's see if we can bring it up if you're going to...
Oh my god, I'm getting a
goodness.
YouTube ad. Professional.
This ad break brought to you by The Back Pocket.
The first thing that came up was the Howie games, so I don't think it's anything relevant.
There was definitely something. I'll see if I can find it. I will try and bring it back up again next week as we do our actual preview for the season. But it definitely looked entertaining because of the strange group of people that had on it.
Did he do a boxing match with Dane Swan?
It was a big, there was a whole bunch of different ones. It was a charity event. However, I would be cheering for Favola in that match because despite the fact that he is an annoying gambling addict alcoholic, at least he's not Dane Swan, who doesn't know the difference between sanitary pads and urinary pads for men who are post bowel cancer or prostate cancer.
Yeah, he's a fool, that man.
Yeah, not the brightest. And that was fine when he played football and didn't have Twitter because it was funny to watch him run around being a bit stupid. But now that I have to see his opinions, which I don't because I have him blocked on the internet, but...
oh, you heard it here, folks. Drama. Jack Turner has blocked Dane Swan on Twitter.
Yeah, and a lot of other football-related people because it's you like football. Do you want to see these tweets? I really don't. At all. Not even remotely.
I avoid it completely.
Yeah, it's just... People get given a platform and they keep it after they retire, and it's weird. It's really weird.
And people keep caring because celebrity culture is
and
insane
I think
and pervasive.
It's been really interesting watching the Australian cricket team be a great example of that recently, where they lost 2 games in India, which every team has done for the last 15 years. And all of these former greats were coming in and piling on about how they could have done it better and this team was weak. And then they win one, playing the exact same way, because this was the plan they went in with and it's hard to play over there. And they're all silent. But it's why were we listening to them in the first place?
It's almost like whenever I hear Mick Malthouse talk about anything these days.
Yes.
You were past it.
Peter Sumich was another one. I said that last week when he said something. I was I feel like they get to a point, and I think it's encouraged though. I think that these media outlets...
I'd also like to add Dermot Brereton onto that.
Oh, but he's always been dumb, Dermy.
I feel like it's getting worse.
It's weird because I look at him now and I can't imagine him being the nutcase hard man he was when he played football, because there were not many people who would play through injury like he would.
He seem soft now, doesn't he?
He's it's the dyed blonde hair that might be fake, but I'm not making accusations.
It's
and
definitely
the soft
fake
tones and the soft spoken as well. And you remember him playing football with a punctured lung or an almost broken arm, and you're it's the same man.
Yeah,
but he did also sport the perm mullet and very short shorts. So you can definitely have it both ways, which is...
I mean, they were all short back then, but his were definitely shorter.
He was not quite Kappa, but in a league of his own compared to some others. On a scale, you need a sliding scale of Kappa to Betts.
That's actually going to be in AFL 23. You've got the short scale.
The short scale.
From Kappa to Betts. You slide it back and forth.
I love a game release where last year before the grand final, outside the MCG, they had the tent where people could test play it. And then since then it was radio silence. And then they're it's out in a month, lads. Do you have any footage? No.
I've seen one trailer and 8 pictures.
Yeah, and the trailer doesn't have any gameplay footage. It's all trailer footage.
I did actually see a TikTok clip of a set shot, and that was it.
It was weird. I saw it and I was one thing I'll give them is the players look like the players, which is a change on previously. But also it looks like they forgot to put shading on them. They all look very one tone.
There's no Australian company with the budget to make an annual release that's not iterative.
And
they don't have the
totally
capacity to do that when there's 40 plus players per team. There's 18 teams. Then you have to take in the 18 women's teams and, if they wanted to do it, VFL teams, Waffle, etc. On top of that, they would have to release them yearly to be on like a FIFA or an EA scale, whatever.
And it's never going to happen.
It's not happening.
Which is why I was surprised they called it AFL 23.
Which they're trying to make it look premium, and I'm very concerned that this game is going to be awful.
I can't wait to play it.
I'll have fun.
We can make a back pocket team, just all defenders.
I hope that they have a good song on the menu, and it's not something that makes me want to drill my brain out.
And I saw the commentary was better this time. It was Hutto and Daisy Pearce, which is so much better than, was it Richo and BT on the last one?
They've got your mate, Orange Team.
My mate.
She's part of it.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Orange Team. So good. Kelly Underwood?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
There's 6 commentators.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Jason Bennett's one as well.
Okay, I didn't see that. I don't mind Jason Bennett. He's all right.
Can't remember all of them. I know Richo's one of them.
It's almost like people who came through as journalists and commentators make better commentators than ex-players.
I think Kelly Underwood's better than people.
I agree. I used to really like her on the ABC. I think it's just contagious when you get in a box at Fox Footy or 7 that you just catch on the absolute dribble that the rest of
There's
the
a brain slug in there. It gets
like
them all.
you even hear BT on radio rather than TV, which I think is partially because he's forced to call.
He has to because there's no footage.
But like even then, he's better outside of that box. I don't know what goes on in there.
I know they're dickheads. Sorry for the language. Out of nowhere. 3AW, you've got you have Brayshaw and you'll have BT and all those, and they're not bad when they're on radio.
They do a better job for some reason.
So much better, but as soon as you put them on a camera,
you can get the exact same group of people in the commentary box on the radio. Wild.
Like the 3AW calls of grand finals are genuinely funny, and they still call the game.
The only person I don't think that's true for is Malthouse. I can't.
Oh, he's even worse on radio.
Like I remember thinking Cameron Ling. I was so disappointed when he came to TV. When he came to TV, I was like, "Wow, this is dribble," because I thought he was okay in special comments on the radio. But Malthouse has no sweet spot. Like I can't handle hearing him talk.
No, that out of experience, huh?
Any platform, it doesn't matter. He's stuck so far in the past. It's incredible.
I think
last year he was talking about. I think it was. Who's that player for Adelaide? Small defender, came back from injury last year, got injured again.
No idea.
God, I don't know the name. But Mick Moldhouse was like, and who's this? Is it a new player? I was like, Mick, it's your job, mate. Literally, your one job you have left in life is to talk football and know players, and you're commentating this game and you don't know one of the players' stories that I think a lot of average fantasy pundits around the country would know more. It's just wild. These people get paid so much money to do it too. Like the money in TV and radio is still wild to me. You wonder if maybe that they could pay more for TV rights to the AFL if they didn't pay their commentators so much money. Maybe.
And I think that's part of the problem
for subpar commentary.
Is he still on the list, do you reckon?
Yeah, he is. Wayne Miller.
Oh, Miller.
Mick Moldhouse didn't know who Miller was at the start of last year.
Is he a defender?
Yeah, small defender. Absolutely. Running halfback.
Forward. He's listed as on their website.
Oh, no! Well, okay. Well, I've done myself dirty there.
Medium forward. Player stats. Well, let's not talk about the stats. Let's leave those behind.
Keeps getting injured. It's all right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I worry about Adelaide. I don't see where much improvement comes from.
I actually kind of see the opposite. I think they're playing a really tough brand of football.
I thought I did last year. After their first 5 or 6 weeks, they almost beat Freo round 1, and then I think they knocked off Richmond and someone else who was a contender. And I was like, oh, okay, they're doing okay. And then they lost 12 straight.
Yeah, I'm going to give them time. I'm not judging them off anything anything really, except for the fact that I see them playing tough footy. They were very tricky for a bunch of sides last year, and they have some really phenomenal, strong senior players to lift the youth around them.
I do like Big Five.
So
as a beast.
Yeah, and he's capable of playing a smash hit game.
Love a monster of a man up forward.
So yeah, I'm not writing them off. I think I have them pushing for the 8 or close to.
I probably have them in a similar bracket to where they were last year, only maybe hopefully winning a game or two more. But you'd expect, you'd hope that teams won't get the easy wins they got against West Coast and North last year.
Not going to happen.
You think they'll still beat them, but
Well,
they won't
North,
be
maybe.
You hope they won't be the absolute pushovers they were last year, which should even the comp out a bit more, because I feel like there was...
I mean, it's weird, right? Because West Coast stayed that way even after the injuries kind of...
You're demoralised though a bit, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess.
If you're going in and you're like, cool, we've won...
But the trend is, even if you look at Adelaide's worst season, North's worst season, they won games towards the end of the year. And that didn't happen for West Coast.
That's true.
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
But they beat Collingwood, which was the highlight of last season for West Coast fans and non-West Coast fans alike. I think everyone but Collingwood enjoyed that game. West Coast's waffle team outperforming West Coast's AFL team basically for the whole year.
It's good stuff.
It was great. I hope that happens again. I did see, it was interesting, I wonder if they're like trying to do the reverse Moz, like Nathan Buckley and a few other former Collingwood people saying, they'll probably be lucky to make the 8 because that form, of luck can't continue again this year, like we were saying last week. But I feel it has to be like an attempt at the reverse Moz in that situation, like where you talk about how you don't think your team can win a game just to try and...
I'm surprised Nathan Buckley isn't only saying positive things. I swear he would take that role back in
Last
a heartbeat.
year, it was wild the way he was talking about that team. Like, saying, using players' first names or saying
in
us
commentary.
or stuff like that in commentary. And it was like, mate, this is, like, you're meant to be a professional. And for someone who, when he played, was the consummate professional as a footballer, wild.
No, Nathan Buckley's on the shit list. That's official. You can put that one down.
Oh, yeah. We're not
I think
a fan
that
of
carried over.
Nathan
I'm pretty
Buckley.
sure I said those exact words last year.
Yeah, no, I look, we've made I think our stances on Nathan Buckley very clear.
Fig jam.
Probably will not be a guest on the podcast ever.
No.
If he offered, it'd be a tense interview though, wouldn't it? That'd be nuts. But yeah, no, for a man who made the comments he made about Lumumba, was there during, like, when Collingwood were actually bad with their racism back in the 90s. There's a lot to be said about...
Were?
Well, no, but I mean, like, where it was overt and not needing to be uncovered by a report when they put sticks and stones on their banner after racial slurs were said at Michael Long the week before. And that's not a disparagement at Collingwood now. That's just that stuff was awful, and he was there at the time.
And it continued under his reign.
While he was there. So, who knows? That's probably a good point to leave it anyway, because you can probably hear our annoying mascot in the background meowing his little arse off. And next week, we can actually talk about games that are going to happen a day or two after the cast.
Yeah, it'll be
nice.
It'll be good. I'll have actually watched some football, and I'll come up with some new 22v22s for everyone.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. That's a silly little gambit. I am going to remember this week, though, to say that the podcast is available, as always, on Spotify, Apple, Google, and on YouTube. YouTube is very boring. It's stationary, but if that's where you listen to your podcasts, it is there. And you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Everywhere we are the Back Pocket AU, except for on Ko-Fi, where we would love any dollar because we pay for this, which is foolish, where we are just the Back Pocket instead of the Back Pocket AU. But thanks for joining us once again. We'll be back this time next week to talk about football.
Don't forget to plug the website.
Football. And the website's thebackpocketau.com. You.
Bye.